here we are. This is Sex Love Psychedelics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat. Bringing you psychosexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more.
While you're being a therapist and you're on your own healing, your own healing track, how do you navigate that space of being with your client? How do you personally, or how did you? And is there anything that you would advise younger therapists or your younger self or other practitioners who want to do this work?
Yeah, that's actually a great question because I supervise a lot of therapists as well, and I make a huge effort within the group practice that I supervise and other, younger professionals that I supervise to work with people with really varied identities and really varied life experiences and offer them opportunities to develop professionally. And we can carry an incredible amount of personal trauma, of intergenerational trauma, and the traumas of systemic violence and oppression that live in the bodies, particularly of marginalized and traditionally oppressed identities, people with traditionally oppressed identities. So one, I think, great caution is that we can be attracted to helping other people heal from a very altruistic and from a place that's based deeply in wanting justice and healing for all beings and for the being that's right in front of you if you're working individually. And I think a really good question to ask yourself is, how does your body feel after you've sat with someone and processed their trauma? Because if you're still in a phase of your own healing process where you are being somatically derailed and your body is suffering to the extent that it can't quickly process that energy and regenerate in order to be able to see the next client, then that might mean it's a time to pause and consider other ways you can do the same thing. That might be more community-oriented work. It could be more scholarship or research, all things we desperately need in this field to advance. And what I would say is nobody has to achieve perfect healing to be helpful to another person in their healing, but you do need to be able to fundamentally deal with your own body's energy and your own psychic material coming up, which means that you need very good community and good supervision, and to respect the limits of your own humanity. And I can tell you firsthand, that is a lesson that I had to learn. It was a very hard lesson. I had so much passion for trying to help people. There have been moments that I created not overt harm, but definitely, unintentional harm by wanting so badly to do whatever I could to show up for somebody else's healing that I was harming myself, that I would burn out, that I would under-deliver on what I was not promising, but had attempted to show up for. So the lesson I learned from that is actually to be really careful about how you work with your own energy and to consider that healing is actually a relational process. And whereas if you're sitting with a therapy client, it is not their responsibility to be dealing with your problems. And if your therapist is making it your responsibility to deal with their problems, you should find a different therapist to work with. But we are bringing our full humanity, which means there are going to be days when our body is suffering, and knowing how to set limits and ask for what we want. There are going to be times when emotionally we're going through very difficult periods. I mean, I am a queer person. I'm very linked to the queer community, work with a lot of queer therapists. And there are times I sit down with a supervisee and looking at the violence against the LGBT community that is happening right now, the erosion of our rights. I mean, there's real weight that you carry when you're trying to show up in a healing space for someone else, but we are all experiencing this together.
Yeah.
And that can be recognized, but therapists need to be, I mean, it's so trite to say therapists need to do their own work. Yeah. I think it's beyond that. We actually need to find our own joy. Because if it was all about us just in therapy processing our own stuff or in supervision processing our own stuff, like, good, definitely do that. But to me, the missing piece is If you are working so hard at helping other people that you don't have space for joy, for self-actualization, for pleasure in your own life, that is the energy that helps you to be truly politically empowered. That is the energy that helps you to show up for other people. We need joy as much as a balm for our suffering as we do processing or hard work.
Of course. I mean, that's on even just a nervous system, body regulation, safety, intrinsic safety level, which is so necessary to go out there and fight the good fight or support somebody and hold them or be witness to them in a way that doesn't
You
do
say,
that.
of course, as if all people think this. But this
I
is
know.
not how we're conditioned under capitalism, Kat. Seriously.
No, I know.
I mean, so much of what I was attempting to do in the book is break down this idea that being good means denying yourself, working very hard, and then maybe you get a little break, which is why I took attempted at such detail at describing the difference between pleasure and leisure.
Yes.
Because what capitalism offers us is a lot of leisure. We can be amused all day long, right? Mm-hmm. We have phones that can be scrolled on endlessly. We have so much content that we can swing by on a daily basis. And at the same time, it doesn't offer us this opportunity of real pleasure, which is being awake and alive in our life, rooted to this present moment in our bodies, and aware that that's what's happening. And it's available to us all of the time, this type of pleasure, but we're deeply socialized not quite to know how to access it. So that was something I really wanted to speak to in my writing.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to sexlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on Sex, Love, Psychedelics.